Hi, welcome back to Burning River Bushcraft. The weather we're having right now is very challenging. That's all I'm going to say about it. It's about 42 degrees right now, and it's raining, and I'm standing on a pond. So the ice is real slushy right now. It rained all through the night. This morning was very misty. You were wet just walking around through the woods early. It switched to rain maybe about an hour ago, and it's been on and off raining. So what better time to get outside and practice some ice fishing techniques. So the ice itself is real glassy, real slushy. I was out on it yesterday, and the difference between yesterday and today as far as my puncture of the ice chisel, you know, the ice is a lot softer today. And obviously that's probably not the safest thing. But I don't want to be out here on this ice either. So what I'm going to do today is practice some of my passive fishing techniques so I can gather food from the wilderness without being out here. Now, I screwed around a little bit yesterday. I was out here with my son and we were playing with some spring pole ice fishing rods that I purchased. Again, I'm not a sport ice fisherman, but you know, they're like $10 rods, and that's something I need to add to my toolbox to be able to learn how to fish through the ice. So, you know, it's been a process, and this is just another leg of the process. So right now what I'm going to be trying to do is use some of my techniques that I use in the summer to passively fish and try those out in the winter. So I'm going to be using some yo-yos today. Now, I've had a lot of success in the past with yo-yos. Even when I'm not shooting videos, if I'm out here doing something and I want a quick lunch, I set some yo-yos and, you know, I have fish before the end of the day. Now, when you're ice fishing, the fish are very lethargic. So a lot of times they're right on the bottom or just off the bottom, and they're not real aggressive. Now, the whole point of that spring pole, like I had yesterday, that spring bobber pole, is there's a small spring on the end of it, and in very light indication from a fish, you can see that more than you would be able to feel with a hand line or with a regular rod. So I've tried the speed hooks out, and now the yo-yos are up. So like I said, I know they work, but the yo-yos have a lot more moving parts. So here's this yo-yo, in case you didn't see my other video. There's a spring tension on the reel itself, and then there's a trigger. And then this would be in the water, attached to monofilament fishing line. When the fish pulls that, you know, it reels the fish in, it sets the hook for you, and it lets the fish play in and out. So the fish is ready to be pulled in when you get to it. The spring hooks that I used before, the speed hooks, you know, very few moving parts. That has a trigger and a ring. This has a lot more going on to it. My theory is these are going to be more susceptible to the weather. But what better way to try that out than to come out here in nasty weather and give it a try. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, the key is to locate the bottom. So you're going to have to drop a weight down of some type, feel the bottom, and then come up about a foot with your line. So what I'm going to be using today is the exact same setup that I used in my speed hook video. I've got a disposable trap stake on my ridge line. So I'm going to drop that into the hole. I've already chipped a hole with my ice chisel. I'm going to find bottom, make a mark on the line, and then figure out how much monofilament I need. So we're probably in about 9 foot of water. So I've got several of these yo-yos, and most of them have a cord factory attached. So I'm just going to go over the top of my tripod with that, and now I'm going to probably give it maybe 6 feet of line. I'm going to tie the line to the swivel on my yo-yo. Now, I'm fishing in 9 feet. I don't want 9 feet of that yo-yo out. I'm just going to give it, like I said, if I've got a 6-foot leader, I'm going to have maybe 2 feet of the yo-yo out. That's going to save wear and tear on the yo-yo. Now, I don't want to get into a lot of specialized equipment for ice fishing, but I did purchase a few jigs when I bought my spring poles. And all these jigs are real small in general. You know, this is pan fishing is all we're after right now. Now, when I did the speed hook demo, or the speed hook test, that had a hook already attached to it. So in that case, I just used power bait. So here I'm going to try to use a jig just for ice fishing. See how that works. I mean, you're going to carry hooks anyway. And if you're going to complain about carrying the weight of a, an ice fishing jig, you got a lot of issues. Okay, so with this one I'm going to try it no power bait. I'm just going to go jig alone. And I've got about 2 feet pulled off on the yo-yo itself. So this is actually going to test a couple theories out here at the same time. I'm testing my passive fishing methods. I'm testing my yo-yos and their ability to freeze up. So if I have a fish on the end of the line, but the yo-yo is completely frozen at the end of the day, that's not saying much for the yo-yo. So I want to have a fish on ideally, but I also want to have an active, unfrozen yo-yo. Now in this next setup, I'm going to actually submerge the entire yo-yo. Now I see this a lot with cat fishermen. They'll run a float and then run the yo-yo underwater. So I guess this is going to be an extreme test of freeze up. I'm going to lay out, I've got about a 6-foot lead. I'm going to lay out about another 2 feet, and then the reel itself is going to be submerged. So if that thing don't freeze, then I pretty much weatherproofed the yo-yos. Now that's the beauty of the adjustability of a tripod. Even a crappy put together in 30-second tripod like this, I can adjust it over the hole so I can go left or right. And I can also spread the legs, lower it down. If I did hook a big fish or the wind or something gusted away, my sticks are bigger than the hole, so I don't have to worry about the whole thing going into the water. But this is a proven technique in the summertime, so I'm just trying to find a quick adaptation so I don't have to carry that much specialized gear for the winter months. Okay, so I just have a few more yo-yos to set. I'm going to follow the same process. The rest of them are going to be up above the water, in the wind, in the rain, so we'll be able to test a couple different elements and see how weather resistant they really are. So the one thing I did not point out, that I am doing exactly the same as the speed hook video, I am not servicing these holes at all. I'm not coming back and skimming the ice off of them like you would if you were, doing a normal traditional ice fish, you know, I'm not going to be spooning any ice off. I'm going to let it, you know, borderline freeze over essentially. I'll come back with my chisel, be careful not to cut the line, you know, and give it a little tap tap before I check my lines. Now if I had the evergreens or I had some type of boughs of any type to lay around the holes, that's going to give me, you know, less freeze around the hole. I don't have that in my area, so this is what I'm going to have to practice with. We'll see how it all works out. So I came out here after 4 hours and checked the yo-yos yesterday. I had no hits, no yo-yos were released. The one hook that I had that was baited only, you know, I lost some of the bait, but most of the bait was still on there. It was very disappointing. The footage for that, because of the high wind, is really unwatchable. You know, I tried to make it work, but it's kind of better that today, you know, I get the chance to come out here again. This has been about 22 hours since they've been baited and set. Now, the problem I can see right away, after 4 hours, the ice was not really formed over the hole. So if a fish would have pulled it, you know, I would have had that yo-yo action to release it. Right now, I'm going to have to hit this hole with a chisel to get it open. So that means that this trigger has not been set, and if it was set, it doesn't do anything. I'm completely frozen. You know, that doesn't mean that this wouldn't catch a fish, but the action of the yo-yo, unless you catch a fish early in the set, is completely worthless. Now, I'm kind of interested, the one yo-yo that I completely submerged, if that thing's still active, then that's going to have to be how you set yo-yos in the winter. But let's chip the ice and see if I've got any fish on here. So right now the yo-yo is tripped manually for me, and it's not enough to pull the ice up. And here's our jig. So big no-go. Now this chunk of ice here, I found this out in my speed hook video. You know, I can't let this go. If I was catching fish or not catching fish, this is just going to build up and get worse, and in this case it's going to impede the yo-yo. So what I found worked best, that way I'm not really using a sharp edge against this line, is just to use the side of the chisel and just smash it. So the yo-yos have had a lot of negatives so far. You know, the fact that the line freezes up going down through the hole and essentially negates the yo-yo action, you know, that's kind of a big deal. So fish or no fish, if I pull this out and this yo-yo is still functional, you know, that's going to have to be how you set a yo-yo over ice. You know, I can manipulate the bait, I can change my depth, or maybe I'm just bad at this, but there's a lot of reasons why I don't have a fish on here. But if the yo-yo itself is a frozen block, this just is not going to work on the ice. Let's chip it out here and see what we got. Okay, no fish. Now this yo-yo has been in the ice water for about 22 hours, completely submerged. You see my ice chunk I've got, it's up here on the line, it's not really affecting this. If this thing resets and pulls in, at least I can work with this. Okay, that's perfect. Alright, so just like my speed hook video, I've got a bait issue right now. The trick is going to have to be to find a more durable bait that the fish has to either swallow the hook or pull the yo-yo hard enough to release it. The yo-yos are a viable option, but to use them in winter, you're going to either have to check them a lot more often, like with the, every 4 to 6 hours, or completely submerge the yo-yo in water. Once that freezes up around the hole, you don't have a yo-yo anymore. Essentially, then you've just got a straight drop trot line. So the ability to passively fish through the ice is definitely worth it to me to invest some more time and effort into this. I'm going to try to find a different bait, and hopefully the weather holds and I'm able to come out here and try it again. I will keep you updated. But I have proven at least the yo-yos are a viable option. I don't know if the trigger is going to be light enough yet because I haven't got a fish on. But get out there with what you have and, you know, give it a try for yourself. This has been Jamie Boggs with Burning River Bushcraft. See you next time.